Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hang out with these nerds.
Nathan Nerdarch.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Nerdarchy Ryan.
Unleash unspeakable evil into your game.
We're going to speak about that.
Hey guys, jump down to the description below where you can find Nerdarchy, the newsletter. Get weekly tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
The Book of Vile Darkness, huh?
Yes. As requested by viewer
Amaron Evanstar, who suggested this.
And he wanted to know, how could you possibly use a Book of Vile Darkness in your game?
Well, when you actually break it down into the mechanics, it actually doesn't give you all that much stuff. It's not until you actually look at the real sidebar that you get the real meat and the potatoes of what this book
and
really
the sidebar is like tiny. It's tiny.
But the major and minor benefits and detrimental properties. Like one of the major beneficial things, like you get high-level spellcasting once per day, or you can regenerate, basically. You can regenerate 1d6. As long as you have 1 hit point, you get 1d6 hit points back. Mm-hmm. So that's just significant in of itself. But
well, it is an artifact.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about some trinket you find. This is a major campaign altering.
This is not Joe Schmo's the Ragman's longsword. That's what we're saying.
That is exactly
the book,
sort of what we're saying.
The Book of Vile Darkness is designed to be a world or campaign altering
shifting thing,
magic item, and part of its detriments aren't even enlisted in its properties. If you attune yourself to this thing, you must commit an evil act constantly, like not nonstop, but
every 10 days.
Every 10 days, if you haven't done something evil, the book will just leave you.
I like the idea of like you're like getting to 9.5 days and you see like a little kid playing with a toy or whatever, and you just like steal the toy from the kid,
break it in front of them and throw it down.
Yeah.
And a puppy.
And then an addendum to that is, if you willingly do a good act, it also just leaves.
Yeah. Which one of the detriments of because there's a random chart, I think as Dungeon Master, having a Vile Darkness book in my campaign, I would more than likely just choose the benefits and the detriments are to be thematic to the item.
I would absolutely agree with
because
that.
there's a detriment where your alignment randomly changes. And well, like, because you could lose the book because your alignment inadvertently becomes good because of that.
I don't feel that fits with the item.
Character.
If push comes to shove and you just want to roll randomly, fine, go for it. But I agree with you that if I were to do this book up, I would absolutely pick and choose what good things and bad things.
Now, I don't want to read the whole item, but we should probably read the sidebar because that's where the cool stuff is.
That's actually in these like 500 words. That's the meat of the interesting thing is which. Vile Lore. The Book of Vile Darkness touches on every evil in the cosmos. A character can use the lore of the book. The character can use the lore the book contains to unearth terrible secrets no mortal should know. Among the contents a character might find are the following, plus whatever else you choose. Vile Apotheos. The book could hold a ritual that allows a character to become a lich or death knight. True names. The true names of any number of fiends might be in the book. Dark magic. Several spells of horrific evil of the DM's design and choosing could be in the book. Spells could impose dreadful curses, disfiguring others, requiring human sacrifice, always a good time, afflict creatures with crippling pain, spread vile plagues, and so on. And you also discovered that I'm functionally illiterate while trying to read that.
There's a couple other features that are worth mentioning as well. One is it is the very few things in the game that allow you to break the level, the maximum ability stat of 20,
right,
up to a 24.
Right.
So even though it can only give you a +2, but somehow if you already have a 22,
I believe the reading the tomes are in the same caliber.
So reading a tome. Book of Vile Darkness 24.
So there's that, and then the other thing I found really interesting is anytime you make any kind of knowledge check that involves anything evil, you basically get expertise, but it doesn't word it that way. So if you already have expertise, you're still going to get your proficiency bonus again.
Wow.
Well, actually, it says double your proficiency bonus on that check. So I would hazard to say that if you already have expertise,
you just doubled it.
It says it's practically indestructible without saying it's indestructible, because it actually talks about the ways to get rid of it. Number 1, a solar can rip it in half and it'll reform in 1D 100 years. Or if you stay attuned to it for 100 years,
Doing evil stuff.
making sure you're doing evil things,
Just evil enough.
you can translate a hidden section in it into Celestial, read it aloud, and you and the book are destroyed. Unless, of course, there is evil somewhere in the entire multiverse, and then it reforms in 1d10 times 100 years later.
So you stop the evil for a little bit.
So,
Oh, wow.
so all you have to do is abolish all evil in the entire multiverse over the course of 100 years while you're the only one being evil. And then decide, all right, I'm going to turn, and you do this good, you destroy the book, and voila, it's done.
Well, artifacts aren't meant to be easily destroyed.
I could easily imagine, though, like, if, say, a sect in the world, like a goodly order, that basically they know this book that exists, and they have agents that, like, that's kind of their lot in life, is to, like, go find the book, attune to it, do just enough harm and wrong to satiate the book, to destroy it, and, like, you have a whole sect or order that's their, like, quest and life's goal, to be destroyed by the book.
But at the same time, those individuals could not be good.
Yeah, it's true. No, like they basically have to do the wrong thing for the right reason. So I guess
Does that count as being good?
yeah, that's funny.
So
So-
ultimately, they're trying to do a good act.
Non-evil characters can attune to it, and eventually the book is likely to corrupt them to neutral evil. Let's see, how often does that happen? No, whenever a non-evil creature attunes to the Book of Vile Darkness, that creature must... So it has to make the saving throw. But you could be neutral. It's just every 10 days you have to be doing an evil act, and you can't do anything particularly good either.
Right. So if you stay attuned to it for 100 years, something tells me the book is going to warp you beyond the ability to...
Yeah, I don't think in 100 years you can do an evil act every 10 days and still be neutral.
It might even
So-
be written in the book. Oh, if you want to try and destroy me, here's a way.
Yeah.
Because it knows it's going to get you before the 100 years are up.
Right.
pretty much.
It might be a game the book plays with people that it falls into their hands. Like,
Right.
We got another sucker.
Now, as far as the true names go, I was doing some research for the spells in here.
You've research of true names.
Yes. Oh, okay. Well, planar binding and magic circle made me think of like, oh, knowing the true names is going to be a big deal. But it doesn't say anything special about the true names in it. I mean, for planar binding, the creature has to make a charisma save. DM call saying that it gives disadvantage on that save if you've got the creature's true name that you've learned from the book. But what does affect is if you actually know the true name, not the nickname or like the pseudonym for a creature, and you use gate and they're on a different plane, it opens a gate right to them. Mm-hmm. Which probably could be bad based on who you're learning the true names of.
Well, here's the deal, right? You lay down your magic circle, then you get ready your what is it, binding planar binding spell. Yeah, basically you open the gate to them and you call their true name. Guess what? They're probably going to come through and be kind of angry at you. So you could then try and ensnare them.
So there is different lore outside of D&D about true names, and they make mention in earlier editions of D&D as well as in the Dresden Files, like a true name, you kind of have some control over them, and in some lore says like you have the absolute ability to control the thing when you know its true name. That's a really potent aspect, in that little sidebar, and it's up to you as the DM how much you want to play with that. And I think you could have a lot of fun with, all right, you've given this player this god-awful powerful artifact, and you want to have some fun, give them some demon names, and they can, have them do their bidding.
Well, I was actually thinking in a different direction. If you have a book full of true names, I think you just made a whole lot of enemies.
Yeah, a list full of
They're going
true
to be
name
looking.
enemies.
They're going to be looking for you, and they're going to want to wipe that name out of your mind, probably by removing your head.
Yeah, so
That's possible, but I mean it's in the book, and if for anything that's in the Book of Vile Darkness, that's not going anywhere.
No, it's not. But they would probably want to capture the book.
Yeah, and use it for their own nefarious ends too.
Apotheosis.
Apotheosis. That's basically any horrid sort of transformation you wanted to allow in your game. You could make that be the means by which to do it.
And let's face it, you want to do something that's not quite vampire, lich, death knight. You want to make up your own? Well, this is the perfect place to play around with that kind of ritual.
Put that into there.
And don't forget, this is a book of vile darkness. It's about being evil, as it says in there. The sky's the limit. Make sacrifices a necessity for the things that are going on.
With the dark magic of various spells and rituals that you can put in, things you invent, or that maybe they're out of the player's handbook, you could do a thing of like a resurrection spell, but it has a cost. Like, say you have to do a ritual where you sacrifice the lives of 10 individuals to resurrect one person, per se. So everything has like an undue evil cost to make the thing occur that you want to have happen.
Right. Undo evil by doing more evil.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it's like, and then the blood gathers, and that's what brings the person back to life. Like, and it could be a true resurrection, not some sort of undead sort of situation, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you could also do with like the weight of the soul as well, where as opposed to being just a quantity, where you would have to find someone that is actually virtuous and super good, and sacrifice them in order to bring it back. So like if you're talking about the real world, like maybe the Pope, where you have to sacrifice him, or maybe the chosen of a goodly god.
If you're supposed to if you're trying to bring back someone who's also more substantial, is that what you're saying? Like it's an inverse trade.
Yeah, you could absolutely
balance
do
in a
something.
scale.
Your 15th level evil friend. Well, you got to find a 15th level good
paladin
to.
Yeah.
In game
balance.
mechanics,
Yeah.
or or however you wanted to do it. Just it'd be another interesting way to do it than just saying to quantify numbers, right? Or perhaps you have to sacrifice a unicorn or a coal or something that is supremely good.
Right. Or 10,000 commoners.
Yeah, 10,000.
So
the
thing actually talks about designing spells. So I actually think that it'd be a little fun to play with creating spells that would be found in here. Creating spells is something that is interesting. And it's not. There's no serious guide to how it should be done, and to have things that are going to offer these kind of twists. You get
to do some things that like maybe you don't care about game balance as much because it's from an artifact book.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're going to make this just readily available for any caster, you might be a little more in the lines of this is clearly got to be a 3rd level or 4th level spell. Whereas this thing is like should be next level evil, and it should be balanced, but you don't have to be as concerned because
balance-ish.
It's from an extraordinary source.
Right.
Could be an interesting way to include other archetypes, like maybe a sorcerer archetype that's actually a blood-based sorcerer, like damaging themselves or whatever, kind of like sacrificing hit points for sorcerer points or something. And that could be an archetype you introduce through the book and give the player a choice if they're a sorcerer or they want to take on those levels.
Yeah.
They're a warlock, and they can switch their pack to the Book of Vile Darkness.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
pack to the tome. Like, yep, there's my tome.
Well, I was thinking that actually becomes your patron.
Yeah.
The other thought was you could, if you require material components for these spells that aren't what you would normally put in your game, like the book is the spell component. Right. So those spells are only in your game for as long as the book's in your game.
Yeah. Right.
It would actually give you a way out if you decided you need one. Like you put things in the game you don't want there anymore. Well, by removing the book, you remove it from the game.
Yeah.
Correct.
I could also see, say, an evil cleric or other worshiper, evil paladin gets their hand on this book. Which is the other really interesting thing is you can do things where, like, an evil fighter could get access to spellcasting that ordinarily wouldn't because they bear this book. But also being said, you could amplify evil character's abilities. So a cleric with divine intervention, maybe they have like advantage to the roll or something like that, or maybe their odds are doubled because evil deities, when you're holding the Book of Vile Darkness, are going to be more likely to take notice.
Right.
Yeah, and you could get them to intervene on your behalf because you're an extraordinary agent of evil on the earth at that point.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I could also see that like backfiring on you as well. Like it works, and you've got divine intervention, and like, you should give me that now. I think I think we're going to change upper management around a little bit, and that's going to help.
Yeah, like, and he's going to give it to a more powerful follower because
themselves.
I don't know. I don't see a god needing an evil book. I feel like they're gonna put it to resource manager or whatever.
Mythology is completely full of gods using relics and artifacts. So I feel like anything that might give them the edge up on the other gods or on a rival, they would use it. But again, they also it does, and also there is also tales of them putting things into the world, like the Rod of Vesves or the Rod of Orcus, I think is the one where sometimes he lets it slip his grasp intentionally and lets it go into the world to sow chaos. So it could definitely be something along those lines.
Yeah, or hand it off to a lieutenant that they feel would be better served than the schmo that ended up with it.
But at the same time, I feel like artifacts are powerful enough that even a DD respects gaining that level of power.
Right.
I mean, that's what some of the items from the older books of D&D, Legend and Lore, were actually items of gods. Like Thor's hammer or Odin's spear. Like, they're not really trying to part with those things because they're uber sweet.
Yeah.
And the ruins are image, very iconic.
If you guys want to ruin your campaign, drop the Book of Vile Darkness in there. And if you have already, let us know how it's going in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check out the articles over at nerdarchy.com.
You can tweet at us at Nerdarchy.
You can also follow us over on Instagram.
So until next time, stay nerdy.
How could you possibly use a Book of Vile Darkness in your game?
Well, when you actually break it down into the mechanics, it actually doesn't give you all that much stuff. It's not until you actually look at the real sidebar that you get the real meat and the potatoes of what this book
and
really
the sidebar is like tiny. It's
tiny.
But the major and minor benefits and detrimental properties. Like, one of the major beneficial things, like, you get high-level spellcasting once per day, or
a world or campaign altering
shifting thing,
magic item, and part of its detriments aren't even enlisted in its properties. If you attune yourself to this thing, you must commit an evil act constantly, like not nonstop, but
every 10 days.
Every 10 days, if you haven't done something evil, the book will just leave you.
I like the idea of, like, you're like getting to 9.5 days and you see like a little kid playing with a toy or whatever. You can regenerate, basically. You can regenerate 1 die 6 as long as you have 1 hit point. You get 1 die 6 hit points back. So that's just significant in of itself. But
it is an artifact.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about some trinket you find. This is a major campaign altering.
This is not Joe Schmo's the Ragman's longsword. That's what we're saying.
That is exactly
the book,
sort of what we're saying.
The Book of Vile Darkness is designed to be.
Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hang out with these nerds.
Nathan Nerdarch.
Nerdarch is Ted.
Nerdarch is Ryan.
Unleash unspeakable evil into your game.
We're going to speak about that.
Hey guys, jump down to the description below where you can find Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
The Book of Vile Darkness, huh?
Yes. As requested by viewer
Amaron Ebenstar, who suggested this.
And he wanted to know
how you just like steal the toy from the kid.
Break it in front of them and throw it down.
Yeah.
Kick a puppy.
And then an addendum to that is, if you willingly do a good act, it also just leaves.
Yeah. Which, one of the detriments of because there's a random chart, I think as Dungeon Master, having a Vile Darkness book in my campaign, I would more than likely just choose the benefits and the detriments are to be thematic to the item.
I would absolutely agree with